Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library, and we have another program. We're going to make earrings. People seem to like that. So we're going to make 3 pairs of earrings, and I thought we could do some little tassel earrings. I'm going to do 3 different types. It's going to be very, very simple. You can use all kinds of things to make tassel earrings. We're going to be using some cotton cord. You can use leather cord. It's entirely up to you to make this first one that we're going to start with. We're going to be using some chain, and we're going to use beads, and we're going to use 20 gauge wire throughout the entire thing. So that's basically it. You're going to need some beads, some cord of your choice, some chain also of your choice, and 20 gauge wire. That's it. So, well, you will also need some tools. You're going to need your round nose pliers. Those aren't round nose, some round nose pliers. The barrels are round all the way around. They start larger at the hilt and taper to almost a point near the top. Then we have our square pliers, and they're slightly rounded on the outside and flat on the inside. When you purchase these, make sure that you get the ones that don't have the grips or on the inside or the ridges on the inside. Otherwise, it can damage your wire. The last thing that we need in regard to tools is a pair of cutters. And we're just going to use those to cut your wire. And you'll also need a ruler to measure everything out. So that's it. Let's go ahead and get started on this project and see how many pairs of earrings we can make. Okay, so the first ones I want to do is this cute little pair of tasseled earrings with a coil. So for that, again, we're going to be using 20 gauge wire. So I've got 6 inches of 20 gauge wire that I'm going to use to make this little coil right here. So I'm going to grab my round nose pliers. I'm going to slide the wire about 3/4 of the way down my pliers so it's big enough to get all of my tassels into. So I want to make sure that the wire is firmly ensconced in between the little arms of my pliers. And then I'm going to start with a loop. So I'm going to, sorry, some pop-up came in front of my that's so annoying. Anyway, I'm going to start with a loop. And by just rotating my plier hand until the tip of my wire touches the back of my pliers. Then I'm going to keep going with my coil, making sure that this tip is out towards the tip of my pliers. So the tip of my wire should be away from my hand, going towards the tip of my pliers. I'm going to keep rotating until I have a coil. I want to make sure that the coils are all the same size, which is why I want this going that way, because I want to make sure that the coils that I'm making are in the same spot where I started, which is about 3/4 of the way down my pliers. And I'm just going to keep, I said use 6 inches of wire because that's what I need to get about a 3/8 of an inch coil like this. And I know from experience that it takes 6 inches of wire. Now, if you see there's a little gap in your coil, just squeeze those rings together. You can do that while you're working, or you can wait until you're finished and then squeeze them together. But just try to keep those coils as close together as possible. And just do it nice and slow. You don't want to have to rush this. You want the coils to be neatly side by side. It's not a race. I say that a lot. It's not a race. It's better to do it neatly than it is to try to rush through it and then have to go back and make corrections. as my dad would say, do it right the first time. Let's see what I've got here. Let's see if this is about the same size. Yes, very nice. So now I've got my coil completed. I've got a good 1.5 inches of wire left. It depends on how big you make your coil as far as how much you're going to use. So if you have a little bit left over, that's much better than not having enough. So I'm going to go ahead and clip off that tail here. Clip that off. And then I'm going to take my pliers and push this down so that it's nicely leaning against the rest of my wire. And if you need to, you can use your square pliers just to get it nice and close. There we go. There, nice. So this is the beginning. And like I said, if you see little gaps in your coils, just squeeze it together. Give it a good squeeze until they go away. So then the next thing that we're going to do is make our little tassels. So I've already cut 5 3.5-inch pieces of waxed cotton. Now you can make it as long or as short as you want, but because I want it to match my other one, that's the length that I went with. So I already got those measured out. Fix it so that the ends are all together. I got 5 of them. You can do more or less depending on how much cotton you have. Get those nicely lined up. There we go. Then I'm going to take another piece of my wire. Man, I wish this had been long enough, but it's not. So I've got about 2 inches of wire here. I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and put a little hook down here, just about 1/4 inch from the tip. I'm just going to turn this so that I have a little hook. Not quite a loop, but a hook, because I want it to hold all of these strands of cord and fit in my little coil. So now I've got my little hook there. So I'm going to leave that a little more open so I can just slide these in. Okay, double check, make sure my ends are all together, and there we go. Slide my little strands in between the circle where my hook and there. So just right there in the middle, as close as you can get in the middle of your strands. Push those down and close that hook up. I'm going to use my square pliers for that. Just give it a nice squeeze. There we go. Nice and tight. There. So there's my little tassel. Now I'm going to grab my coil and slide that down over the hook. Let me get it as firmly ensconced in there as I can. So I'm going to pull it down. I want that hook to be big enough, and we need enough of these strands that this won't pull down back over them. So We don't want that to be too small. And this is just strong enough so that it's not going to pull out. Good. Very good. Nice. Very good. I'm just manipulating it a little bit so that it's nice and snug. There we go. Okay, and now comes a bead. And would you look at that? I found one that was almost the exact same color. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there we go. Almost the exact same color as my cotton cord. Those of you who get kits probably won't be able to find beads that match every single color of the cotton cord I have, but I will definitely make sure it's something that goes with whatever color you've got. So I popped that bead right on top, right over the stem of my wire. And now I decided to wrap this because I just thought it would be pretty if I had a little coil on top, a little wrap on top that looked sort of like the coil. Isn't that neat? So let's do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, which is why you have this excess wire. So what I'm going to do is give myself just a fraction of space up here, maybe 1/8 of an inch of space. You can try to measure it or you can eyeball it. Just give yourself about 1/8 of an inch of distance between that bend that I just put in the wire and the top of the bead. Then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers, slide my slide my wire down about 1/3 of the way down my pliers. I don't need a huge loop, just a decent sized one. You can make it smaller than this. You can make it bigger than this. It just depends on what will be aesthetically pleasing to you for both of your earrings. So then I'm going to bring that wire over the top of my pliers and down the side until I can't go any further because, well, because my tassel's in the way. Then I'm going to open up my pliers, reposition that, and bring the wire under the pliers and on top of my bead, just over my bead. And I've got a little more of a neck than I want. So I'm going to roll that forward a little bit, get rid of some of that space, just so I have that tiny little space in there to wrap my wire around. And then I'm going to switch to my square pliers. And I'm going to make a wrap around the stem right under the loop and around that stem. Nice and snug. And then I'm going to keep wrapping until I have just a little bit of a cap on top to match this one. So I think I have 1, 2, 3 wraps around there. Yes, let's go with that again. And see that little space there? If you don't want that little space there, just use your pliers to squeeze it and rotate a little bit until you can close that up to your own specifications. Okay, so I've got my 1, 2, 3 wraps. Oops. I can clip off this little tail. Snip that off. Now, when I have a teeny tiny little tail like that I don't want to go flying across the room, I usually pull out my little spool. And if you look inside, you see all kinds of little pieces of wire down in the bottom. Just clip that off and let it drop down in there. And if you have a label on the bottom, it just sticks to the label. If not, it will land on your mat and then you can pick it up and throw it away. But you don't have to go chasing it around the room. So now this little part right here that's sticking out, I'm going to use my pliers to push it down into place along with the rest of the little coils. And there we go. Now all I need to do is match it up with this one. You can leave it this long. This is awesome. But I needed to match my other one. So let's put that over there, kind of measure it out to see what I've got. And let's snip it off down to the same length as the other one. Turn it that way because I'm going to cut with my right hand. All right. There we go. Right in there. And you can grab your cutters or a pair of scissors. I find that scissors make kind of a cleaner cut. These are going to fray a little bit, even though it's waxed, but that's okay. I think it'll make it even prettier. So I'm going to cut that off. Oh, and the other thing is, it doesn't have to be straight across. If you can do it in graduated lengths, I think that would be pretty too, and it might make it look a little more full. I'm just cutting mine straight across because that's the way I did the first one. So there we go. There are my two little earrings. Let me move these little strands out of the way. And now all I need is an ear wire. So for that, I need about between 2 and 2.5 inches of wire. It depends on how long you want. I thought I had it cut. I don't. It depends on how long you want. It's not it. Oh, that's just the piece that was left over. I thought I had it cut. Sorry. So I'm going to have to cut it. So it depends on how long you want your ear wire. It doesn't have to be very long at all. Okay. Straighten that out a little bit. And I can eyeball it, or I can take my ruler and measure. Let's just measure it just because I've got the ruler there, may as well use it. Okay, grab my cutters, cut that off. What did I do? 2 inches for this? I think that should be enough. This might be a little longer. 1, 2, no, yeah, 2 inches should do it. Okay, let's cut that off. Okay. And grab my round nose pliers. Make a loop, just a small loop, about 1/8 from the tip. Make a little loop. Just rotate until I have a circle. And then I'm going to slide down. Oh, you know what? No, I think I used a pen for this. You can use the back of your pliers, or you can use an ink pen or some kind of small cylindrical item to make your ear wire loop. So I'm going to grab my ink pen, put it behind my loop here, and just wrap that wire over the pen. Bring that over and let it touch the loop. Just like that. And then I'm going to shape the ear wire. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a curve. Like so. And then I'm going to cut it. And it's always good to kind of match it up. Match it up as much as you can to the one that you've already made, if you've already made one. So there we go. Cut that off. I keep getting these pop-ups on my... Oh, stop. I don't want to back up my system files just yet. Okay, cut that off. Cut that off. Grab your round or your square nose pliers, whichever is closest to you. Go right down here to the tip of your wire, right with the tip of your pliers. And I'm going to put a little bend, a slight sharp bend away from my loop. So my loop is down here. I'm going to bend in the opposite direction. Just a tiny little bend, just like that, and just like that. I have a pair of ear wires. I always lay them down and flatten it. That's the easiest way to flatten. And now all I have to do is attach it. So I'm just going to open my ear wires up just like I would do a jump ring. I don't pull the tip away from the rest of the wire. I kind of flip it up, grab my earring, slide the closed loop at the top inside that open loop, and push it back down. And there are my earrings. There we go. Aren't those lovely? Nice. A nice little pair of tassel earrings. Okay, one pair down. Let's move on to the second one. Okay, so for this one, let me get some of this debris out of the way and I'll be right back. Okay, so the next pair of earrings that we're going to do, or next earring that we're going to do, is going to involve this little hand-coiled cone that we're going to make. I saw a video by 4 girls. I think it's 4 girls or 3 girls. And they did these cones as links. And I just loved it. I thought it would make a really pretty earring, and especially as a kind of a dangle earring. And so that's what we're going to do with this today. For that, I need 15 inches of 20 gauge wire. And I'm going to grab my round nose pliers again. I'm going to start a little bit away from the tip of my pliers here. And I'm going to slide my wire down just maybe a little less than 1/4 of an inch away from the tip. And I'm going to make a loop just like I did before. I'm always telling people the one thing that you need to know how to do is make a loop. So I'm going to start with a loop just like that. Let's close that up a little better. There. And then I'm going to continue with a coil, sort of like I did the other one, except that I'm going to be working my way down my pliers instead of making the wraps the same size. So I'm going to, again, work the tip of my wire, the first loop, towards the tip of my pliers. And then I'm going to start coiling down my pliers. And when I say down, I mean towards the hilt. I'm going to start coiling that down my pliers so that it's forming a cone. And the coils get bigger as I go. Just keep an eye on it. You want the coils to wrap as closely to each other as possible. And if you see it starting to open up so that they're not as close together as you want, just squeeze them together so that there aren't any gaps. And I want that straight across. So be aware of that too. You want the coils to be straight across your pliers, not at an angle. So you just take your time, make your coil. Okay. See, there's a little gap there. I'm going to squeeze it back together. Keep working that down my pliers. And you can determine how big you want this to be. If you don't want it to be very long, that's fine too. And I'm just going to work it almost all the way down to the back. because I want it to match this one. So you can make it longer or shorter. Well, I can only go as far as the back of my pliers, so take that into consideration. I hope you're not getting bored with all of the coiling that I'm having to do with this one little guy. It'll be worth the wait. Okay, just keep on going. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And because I've already made one, might want to check and make sure that they're going to be the same length. Almost, just keep going. Almost there. You can see I have some little gaps there, so I'm going to push them together. You can use your square pliers to do that if you want. Just kind of push them together. Boom. Ouch. Try not to hit your thumb when you're doing that. Okay. Let me check my other one for size and length. Yeah, that looks good. Yes, okay. So now that I've got it the size that I want, so there's my little coil. Let's go back in and make sure everything's nice and straight. I'm not worried too much about any little gaps. They're very, very small, but you can just push them down. Just lay this down on your mat and push them together. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze until it looks the way you want it to look. Make any adjustments that you need to make. There we go. And then what I'm going to do, pop this back in, is wrap this up the links for just a little decorative touch. I'm going to wrap that up, watching this one so I can make sure they're about the same. Just wrap that up there. Now, when I have to put my pliers down on the one that I just wrapped, don't squeeze it too hard. You don't want to run the risk of damaging it at all. Check that. Yes, that looks good. I think it's going to go one more time around. Yes. Just checking. And I'm as close to the same as possible. And then when I get up here to the top, I'm just going to wrap it right around the tip, just above where the cone ends. So just wrap that around. Give it a full turn around right here at the top. So there we are. So once I've done that, I can clip off this tail. I only needed about 13 inches, but guess what? This is about 2 inches left, and I can use that for something like maybe an ear wire. All right, let's cut that tail off. Put this to the side for another time, and just squeeze that little tip in. Yeah, so that it's not sticking out. And I can go in and squeeze it down. There we go. Yes. And there's my little cone. Yay. Nice. Isn't that cute? Put that to the side over here. And now let's get our chain that we're going to put in there. Okay, so what I did was cut three 3-inch pieces of chain. Wait, is this 3 inches? Looks like it's more than 3. Let me double check. Double check. Yeah, it's 3 inches. And that way I can cut it whatever length. Let me double check this again. Yeah. Yeah, that way I can cut it down to whatever length I want. If you want it really long, that's great. If you want it shorter, that's great. But give yourself enough length so that you can cut it down to where you want it. You don't want it to be too short and then you can't do anything but have to cut more wire. You have to cut more wire, that's fine, but if you don't have to cut more wire, that's even better. All right, so I've got my wire. So now I just need to do the same thing that I did with this and make a little hook for my chain to go into. So I'm going to grab my pliers again, make my little hook. So I'm going to go down about 1/4 inch from the tip and turn my wire. Oh, where am I here? Turn my wire until I have a little hook for my chain. There we go. And I like to kind of close it up so it has the shape that I want and then reopen it so I can slide my chain in. Okay, just slide that in there. And push that tip down. There we go. And if you put more wires, you want to give yourself, if you put more chain, you want to give yourself more wire because you don't need a loop, but you do want to close this up around your chain. Okay, so there's my little chain around my little hook. One of these looks like it got a little crazy. Let's see which one it is. It's that one. Yeah, that's fine. It looks, I think I had one strand that was a little longer than the other, but that's okay because it's still enough to cut off. But before I do that, let's go ahead and put my little cone on. I'm going to slide the tail of my wire down over my cone like so, or down into my cone like so. And then all I need to do is make a loop. And I'm not going to wrap this one. I didn't wrap this, did I? No, I'm not going to wrap this. I'm just going to make a simple loop. So I'm going to bend my wire back. And I'm going to cut this down to about 1/2 inch, 3/8 to 1/2 inch, depending on how big you want your loop to be. It does not have to be too large. Cut that off. Another little piece of wire that I'm wasting. I can't stand it. Then I'm going to slide my wire down about 1/4 of the way down my pliers because I don't need too big a loop. And I'm going to make a loop. Wrap that around until it closes. I have a little bit of a neck there, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so I can get rid of that neck. Have a nice clean loop. Cut a little bit of it off. Just, you know what? No, that looks good. Actually, I guess I could cut a tiny bit of it off and reclose my loop like so. So there it is. Now the only thing I need to do is cut it down to the length of chain that I want and make an ear wire. So this is the length of the first one. You can measure it if you want to before you cut. I'm going to cut that off. Let's see how long this is. It's about a little less than an inch and a half, about an inch and 3/8. Okay, so let's cut that down to that little inch and 3/8. I always measure it the wrong direction, then I have to do it again because I cut with my right hand, even though I'm left-handed. Okay, there we go. Check, measure twice, cut once. I used to say that about my sewing, and now it comes in handy with my jewelry making. Okay, gather up all my chain. Now you can cut each one of these one at a time if it's easier. Might be easier because it's going to be almost impossible to cut this whole thing unless you have some super strong cutters. Here's what I think might be a good idea. Let's get this over here, this little inch and 3/8 again. There we go. And then I'm just going to cut them one at a time. Just snip those off. And again, they do not have to be exactly the same length. You might have a little, it might give it a little bit more fullness if you don't have the exact same length. If they're graduated, it might make it more interesting. That's entirely up to you. Let's cut that down. Let's take a look at what I've got. Okay. Some that are a little longer. It's better to cut it a little bit longer and then adjust it than it is to cut it too short. See, these two are very, very short, and they're the same size as the other one. So I just need to cut off a couple of links off of each one of these last ones. And off of there, there's little remnants of the loops will try to hang on. So you might want to shake that off so that you can get rid of those. Okay, let me check here. Very nice. Now all we need is an ear wire. And I've already made one because I already showed you how to do that. There's no point in me showing you how to do that 3 times. And again, I'm just going to open it up to the side, pop my little earring on the open loop, and close it back up. And look at that. I have another pair of earrings. Aren't those awesome? I think this one's a little longer. I might have to measure that out a little bit and cut off another couple of lengths across there, but I'll hang it up where I can actually see before I do that. Yeah, this one's a little bit longer. So let's cut this down a little bit more. Just another link off of each one of these. See if that does it. If I need to cut another link off, I will. Okay. Last 2. Shake that out. And let's check it out. This is still a little longer, so I'm going to give it one more link. Do it one link at a time. Just take your time. There's no rush. You want to get it right. Come on. Yeah, it's not gonna let me do two. It's going, no, that's too many. Let's do one at a time. There we go. All right, let's look at it again. See what I've got. And I think we have a winner. I do this little link here. I think there's one more that can go. Not too bad. But make sure you shake them out to get all of the little remnants out. And then cut it down to the size that you want. And there are our chain earrings. Put down there. Aren't those cute? These I am putting on. There we go. Yeah. All right, let me get all of this debris out of the way and then let's do the next one. A lot of debris in these little tassel earrings. Be right back. Okay, for this last pair of earrings, we're going to combine bead and chain. So we're just going to have these beads hanging down and the chain hanging down beside it. I saw a picture of something like this and I thought it was so cute. So that's what we're making. Here we go. Yeah. So that's what we're making for our last pair of earrings. So the first thing that you're going to do is take, how much do I have here? 3 inches of your 20 gauge wire, and we're going to make a head pin. We're going to make an infinity bottom on the pin. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers and just right with the tip, the very tip of my pliers, I'm going to grasp the tip of my wire because I just want a very small infinity sign at the bottom. So I'm going to use that tip of my pliers and make a tiny little loop. So I'm going to rotate until I have my traditional loop. Just until the tip, oh, I'm sorry, I'm off camera. Just until the tip of my camera. There we go. Just until the tip of my wire. I'm trying to find the camera, for heaven's sake. There we go. Good. My goodness. There. Okay. Ugh, move out of the way. Okay, so until the tip of my little wire is touching the rest of my wire. So there's my first little loop. And then I'm going to take my pliers out of my loop. So I just made this loop. Take my pliers out and put one of the little arms right under my loop. And again, I'm only grasping it at the tip. Just like so, right under my first loop. And then I'm going to make another loop. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can take your finger and just wrap that around, or you can take the pliers and you can make another loop with your plier hand. It's entirely up to you what is more comfortable. But I'm just going to wrap that around again at the tip and make another loop just beside the first loop. Just like that. And there's my little infinity symbol. And I want to make sure that my wire is going straight up from the center of my symbol. There we go. Then all I need to do is put my beads on. Now I have these cute little 6mm rondelles and these pretty little teardrops that I'm going to use. You can use any beads that you want. It's entirely up to you. But what I'm going to do is just take one of my little 6mm rondelles and put it on. And then I'm going to put my teardrop on upside down, put another little rondelle and another teardrop right side up. Well, yeah, right side up so that the little pointed side is facing down like that. And then I'm going to finish it off with one more little rondelle. Now I had 3 inches and obviously I did not need that much, but what the heck, that's what I did. And then I need to add my chain. I'm going to put this down. What I did was give myself 2 inches. Is it 2 inches? Yes, 2 inches of chain and 1.5 inches of chain. Now I'm probably going to have to cut that down because it needs to match this. And I think I made it a little longer so I have space to cut. But one of them just needs to be longer than the other. So you have a little graduated chain here. So then I'm going to put my longest chain on first, just string it on my wire right at the very last loop, the very last link there. This is the fun part. I tried to do it another way. I just tried to put it in the middle and have the wires just hang over, but they didn't lay the way I wanted them. I want them one on top of the other, so I have to put them on individually. Okay, so there's my one on there, and then I'm going to put the other one on there, and again, find that very, very last link and thread that on so that they lay one on top of the other, just like so, just like that. And then I'm going to make a loop. Now I want this to be down below the loop. So I'm going to go ahead and bend my wire just above the chain, like so. Then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers. I have the tiniest little bit of space up here at the top. Grab my round nose pliers, slide my pliers under the wire, or I guess I should say the wire in between the pliers. And I don't need too big a loop, so I'm going to go about a quarter of the way back from my pliers, just section it off in 4/4. Bring my wire over the top of my pliers and down the side until it bumps into the beads. Then I'm going to hold on to everything, open my pliers up and reposition them, and guide my wire under the pliers and over the chain. Just right there. And now I'm going to grab my round nose pliers, square nose pliers, and I'm going to wrap this tail just above the chain down that little strand of wire that's in between the pliers and the chain. And you only need a couple of wraps. You want to wrap it all the way down so that the chain is nicely trapped. And I'm going to check and make sure my short one is on top. Can't really help it be anywhere else because that's where you already put it. And once I have it wrapped sufficiently, I'm going to cut that little tail off. All right, let's take that off. Make sure you don't catch anything else in there. You don't want to cut anything else. I have done it and it's painful. Not because I cut myself, but because I had to start all over and fix what I shouldn't have cut. Wow, it sounds like a plane going overhead, but my gosh, if it was awfully loud. Then this little tip, I need to push it down so that it is not sticking up and waiting to snag me. Push that down, check, make sure it's down there. A little tighter. There we go. And there is my earring. Yay! And now all that's left is for me to cut my chain the same length as the other one. Let's bring this over. You can either measure your chain and cut it that way, or you can just put them side by side and cut them. So let's see what we've got. Okay, short one here, long one there. Let's snip that down. Okay, there we go. Snip that off, and the other one, come back here. Snip that down. This way, this way, this way. Come on. There we go. All right. Okay, that needs to go down to here. Nice. Cut that off. There we go. And now I need what? An ear wire. Yay! Voila. Let's open that up. Got my closed loop inside my open loop. Now you want to make sure, because this wire is supposed to be on the side, you want to make sure that it's mirror imaged. So that's going to be on that side. And this one's going to be on my right. This one's going to be on my left. So when I put my ear wire on, it should be going that way, like that. So that I have a mirror imaged pair of earrings. Okay, so let's go ahead. That's open. I'm going to slide my loop right inside the open one, close it up. And there we have it. Here are my little earrings. Boom. And boom. Straighten that little pin out a little bit. Get a little bent out of shape. There they are. Aren't those neat? So cute. So there we are, ladies and gents. There are our 3 pairs of earrings today. I love it. I love making earrings because it's one of the few pieces of jewelry that I make sure to put on every single day. So they are my favorites, my absolute favorites. There we go. Add up a little bit. There we go. There are my earrings. Voila. Side by side. Okay, there they are, ladies and gentlemen. There are my earrings. I love it. Oh, I should put the blue ones on since I'm wearing blue. But there they are. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you'll find at least one pair that you would like to wear, make and wear, and maybe you can make the others for somebody else that you know and love and that might enjoy them. In the meantime, I hope that you will keep coming and watching tutorials and making whatever it is I make. Okay, you had to know that one of these pairs of earrings was going in my ears, and it just happens to be the blue ones. Now, one thing that I want to tell you, I just love them. One thing that I wanted to tell you is when you make your own ear wires, make sure to take an emery board or a nail file and round out that tip so that it's nice and smooth and not pointy and going to scratch your earlobe because that is not a good feeling. So just take an emery board, a plain old emery board that you use for your nails, or because this is very soft wire that I'm using, or a nail file and just round out those sharp edges so that it's nice and comfortable when you put them on. So that's it. Those are our earrings for the day. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial while I finish this so I can wear these. And I hope that you'll come back for more. And I also hope that you'll comment and send me pictures of what you make. That makes my day. Oh, my thing is shaking. That really makes my day. If you would like to get in contact with me with any questions or comments or anything that you would like to share with me, you can do it at jewelrygin20@gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20@gmail.com. You can also send me pictures and comments on the DeKalb County Library Facebook page. That's facebook.com/DeKalb Library, spelled DAKALB LIBRARY. You can also leave comments, only comments on YouTube, unfortunately, at the library YouTube page, which is youtube.com/DeKalb County Public Library. And would you look at that? I am almost finished with this, and I can wear them as soon as I finish this tutorial. Anyway, let me know what you think, what you thought one way or the other. I would love to hear from you. Criticisms I take to heart because I need to always get better. So please let me know what you think about anything that I do and anything that I can do better. Until next time, have a great week. Have a wonderful weekend and so long. Bye-bye.